bag vibe, baby.
Welcome to the Cup of Joe Show, where we explore the journey of recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. One story, one conversation, and one step at a time. I'm your host, Joe, creating a safe space for honest discussions about the challenges and triumphs of addiction and alcoholism. In each episode, we'll hear inspiring stories and uncover tools that make healing possible. Sobriety is not a one-size-fits-all journey, and you don't have to face it alone. Recovery is possible, and it's worth it. Thank you for joining the Cup of Joe Show. Now let's get started.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm so grateful you decided to join us today. I've got a wonderful guest. I'm going to tell you about him here in a second. His name's Sean C. He's a friend of mine, and he doesn't know this, but he is one of my inspirations for this show. And I heard Sean tell his story, and I was just curious. I wanted to ask him questions while he was sharing in a meeting, and it wasn't appropriate. And I said, man, it really would be cool if I could do that. So now I have the opportunity today to ask Sean questions, which I'm really excited about. He's probably not, but I am. Anyway, a little bit about Sean. Sean's been in recovery for 23 years, since October 22nd, 2001. He was born in Lancaster, California. I believe that's where he got sober as well. Sean's been married to his amazing wife, Tracy, for 19 years. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say, but they've been together for 22 years, because that's what Tracy says. He has three wonderful children, Kenny, a.k.a. John, April, and Patrick. Sean believes in service to others and sometimes finds himself to be a bit overcommitted. He is an avid outdoorsman, loves spending time with family and friends on the lake, and is an amazing cook. I can tell you, I, for one, never turned down a Sean C. breakfast offer, ever. Sean, thank you for being on the Cup of Joe show. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thanks, Joe. I'm glad I'm here too.
So tell us a little bit about where you grew up and what it was like when you were growing up.
Okay, so I grew up in the desert in Lancaster, northern LA County. It was like a farming community when I was growing up there. I don't know. What else do you want to know about it?
Well, what was your family like? What was your family situation like?
My family situation? Well, I had a big family, lots of aunts and uncles. They would get together quite a bit. My father and mother separated when I was pretty young, but I had a lot of family around other than that. So
yeah,
it was definitely. I mean, there were good things and there were bad things.
Yeah, I get that. Do you have any siblings?
I have two. I have two that I grew up with.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a few more that my dad had children, but I don't know them.
Okay.
I counted as two.
Counted as two. I get that.
Yeah.
I understand. Were there any you said you had a lot of aunts and uncles around. Is there any early influences that really impacted your life that you can remember?
Not particularly. I had an uncle that was he was really handy, mechanical, and he had a big beard and listened to rock and roll and rode motorcycles. That was impressive.
It is impressive.
Yeah,
it is. How was school for you? Any memories, good, bad, and different of school that?
I got both. I got good and bad memories of school. Somebody was sharing that the other day in a meeting about getting picked on in school or whatever, and getting bullied or whatever. And I remember, this is going to sound so funny. So I used to get so upset because when I was, I don't know, probably first grade, second grade, something like that, somewhere around in that area, I had a nickname that especially this one kid would always call it to me, and it would upset me so badly. And it really wasn't a bad thing. He called me, "Hey, smiley face."
Oh, there are definitely worse things to be called, for
There are
sure.
definitely worse things to be called. So anyway, it kind of made me laugh inside a little bit when I thought about that when they were sharing about that the other night. But no, I don't know. They were definitely good things and definitely bad things. I was a little punk kid. Um, I definitely wanted to go against authority
Yeah.
because don't you know I'm different?
Yeah.
I don't need to do it that way. I'll do it my way.
Yeah.
I love that Frank Sinatra song. I tell my wife that's my song. I did it my way.
I did it my
It's
way.
like I told her played at my funeral.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
so you definitely had a rebellious side. I think we probably
yeah,
have that in common.
absolutely. I went to the correct high school. Our mascot was Johnny Rebel. We were the Rebels.
Oh yeah,
I had to go there.
you had to.
They built it for
Yeah,
me.
they did. They knew you were coming. They
That's
knew
right.
you were coming.
That's right.
Well, how old were you when you took your first drink? Or
I don't know. My grandparents were kind of fancy schmancy people, and they would throw these parties in their backyard, and they had like a big bar under the awning, and they had little croquet sets set up in the backyard, and their friends would come over and eat and drink and play little games and things. And um, I would sneak some drinks out of there. I don't remember how old I was. I was pretty young,
yeah,
but I think my first memorable drink. Um, I was fixing to go off to high school, and it was the summer before high school, and there were some high school kids that lived across from me, and I went and hung out with them one night, and they had a bottle of Jack Daniels, and yeah, that was my first experience of blackout. So what was that make me, about 14,
yeah,
something like that, 13, 14.
yeah.
That was my first memorable drink.
Mine was peach schnapps. So that just
Peach
tells you
schnapps.
how
Yeah,
desperate. Warm
yeah,
warm peach schnapps under a boardwalk in Wildwood, New Jersey.
yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. So even before that, I'd had some drinks here and there, but they were like something that was left over in a cup. I couldn't tell you what it was. I have no
Yeah,
clue. I don't know. They were drinking all kinds of different things, so I wasn't picky. It was just that was the sophisticated, fancy adult drink, and I
right.
wanted some of it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what so when you what'd you do after high school? What was
After high school,
yeah.
I took my first geographic.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, my first geographic because um, so my last year of high school, um, so I was about to be a father. I had a baby coming, and that was all bad. I did.
Yeah.
I thought I had it figured out. I didn't have nothing figured out. Um, I was trying to be a provider and jump into that role, and the farthest I got was trying to provide to keep myself right, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, and she knew it. She knew I was never going to be that person, not at that point in my life.
Yeah.
Um, so that didn't go well. She took that baby and ran, and I don't know where they went. Anyway, I was such a mess anyway. There's nothing I could have done about it.
Right.
So I took my first geographic and I went to Georgia.
Okay.
I had family there, so I thought, what my problem really is? My problem really is I was born in the wrong time frame. I thought, I would have made a good knight.
Yeah.
Could have went out there and and jousted the windmills. Maybe a gunslinger in the Old West.
Yeah.
Because, people just didn't do things right.
Yeah.
She wronged me. The schools wronged me. The family wronged me. They just didn't understand.
Yeah.
So I thought, what the problem is this place. I got to get out of here. So I packed up my little garbage bag and I got a plane ticket and flew back to stay with some family in Georgia.
Wow.
That was after high school.
Okay.
Now, I've always been a hustler, so I went out and I found work and I made my way around the state, having a great time.
Yeah.
Well, what I could remember of it.
All right. Right. So how long were you in Georgia?
About 6 years.
Okay. Was would you say your drinking was just getting started to be serious, or do you think it was?
It was already serious.
Okay.
It already was. I mean, before I was even out of high school, I had friends of mine that I was partying with, and they were saying, "Man, I think you might have a drinking problem." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "You have a fun problem."
Yeah.
We drink together. Like, I don't know why you're singling me out. They said, "No, we don't drink like you."
Yeah.
And anyway, I was able to kind of, stifle that a little bit and get away from that. And I left shortly after that. And I thought, well, I was dabbling in some other things at that point too, and
Right.
mixing it up. And I thought, well, that's probably what the problem is, and that's all over the place where I'm at. I know all these people, and it's just there. And if I go to a place like going to Georgia, like that problem will be solved. Those things won't exist there, and I'll drink a couple of beers on Friday night, and I'll be fine. I
Right.
won't have all these problems. And to be honest with you, I really didn't recognize that drinking was really the problem. I thought that you get to a certain age and you go work for a living and earn a few dollars, that you're entitled to do that.
Right.
Now, I didn't know that there's limits on it, and that everything needs to be done in moderation. I thought, it was a competition, even if I was the only one there.
Just go shot for shot with yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Shot for shot with myself.
Yeah.
I tell you what, too, Joe, like, I don't know at what period it was that, I thought, well, maybe I don't need to do that. And I was unable to do anything different. When I just started drinking, I drank as often as I could and as much as I could.
Yeah.
And it was several years before I ever thought I should maybe not do this all the time. And I didn't have control over that anymore.
Right.
If I ever did, I don't really know if I did.
Yeah. And I don't want to tell your story. Was in Georgia where the lake incident happened?
The lake incident.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you feel comfortable sharing the lake incident? Because it's a great story, but not tragic and great.
So I was at that point, I lived all over the state of Georgia. I used to travel around with a construction company. And I spent a little more time working for a poultry company where I was a little more, put down there, planted. Anyway, the lake incident was when I was working for this construction company and I was moving all over the place. But at that point, I was living in a real small town in North Georgia. And I mean, they had one main drag. There was like 3 stoplights. I mean, there wasn't much of a town, it was the main strip there was called Big A Road.
Love it.
So anyway, it was on the edge of South Carolina, Hartwell Lake, which is a massive lake. It has a bunch of different outlets that you can go and launch boats and things like that on the Georgia side and on the South Carolina side. And anyway, there was this group of hooligans that I used to go drink with that were trying to not go drink with me anymore. Anyway, I convinced them one night that, let's go drink, and we'll go to the bar anyway. So we went to the bar, and we were just going to go have a few drinks, but we got to have a little bit of fun. So we had some drinks. We got really, really trashed. It was dry county there. It was Saturday night, and I was supposed to go and show up for work on Sunday morning. I don't know why I was working on Sunday that day, but I was. Anyway, I had to be in Conyers, so I think Conyers is about an hour and a half drive from there. So I had to be at work Sunday morning in Conyers. So anyway, so Saturday night, we thought it was just a great idea. Somebody had a bunch of beer and a big old bottle of liquor in their car, and they said, let's go out. Let's go to the lake. So I went out to the lake with I don't know what it was. There's 3 carloads of people, 4 carloads of people. There was 12 of us or something like that from the bar. And we all went out there, and we were all drinking and everything. Or at least I thought we were all drinking and pretty hammered. I was completely shit-faced.
Yeah.
So anyway, I don't know if I told this part of the story. So we all went skinny dipping in the lake. Anyway,
natural.
It does not feel like we were out there for very long. And all of a sudden, there were these giant lights shining in there in the water. And we're like, what the heck is that? Who is out there?
Yeah.
So it was the sheriff.
Oh, God.
And they got on the speaker, and they're like, get out of the water. Get out of the water now. I'm like, well. And the girls were like, turn off the lights. They're like, I said, get out of the water. No choice. So, we get out the water, we get our clothes on. They didn't seem to really care much, except for the part. They said, you guys are making a lot of noise out here. You got to go. The people that live around here are complaining. I'm like, I didn't even know people lived around here. Okay. So, anyway, he said, but it looks like some of you have been drinking. Yes, we have. So, okay, well, who's driving who and what? And we need to see. And they made all of us take a sobriety test.
Oh, wow.
And out of that group, they found 2 people that they thought were okay to drive. 2. And they said, well, you better all pile into 2 cars, and you better get right now, or everyone's going to jail. So we did that. And I rode with some random person. I had no idea who they were. I begged them to give me a ride. They did. They dropped me off on Big A Street, Big A Road. Anyway, so I had to call my brother-in-law, 5 o'clock in the morning, come get me. And my brother-in-law was a preacher. He was not too happy about it. He's like, it's okay. He goes, I understand. I said, just need to take me to my car. I got to go to work. He said, okay, where's your car? I said, well, my car's in Hartwell Lake. He said, all right, which access? I'm like, I can't even see straight at this point. I said, I have no idea. He said, what do you mean you have no idea? How'd your car get there? I said, well, I drove it. How do you not know? I just don't know. I was paying more attention to the lines than anything else. I just followed.
Right.
I don't know. So anyway, my brother-in-law drove me around for a couple of hours. I was passed out drunk, and he finally woke me up about 7, 8 o'clock and said, hey, asshole, wake up. Your car's ready. There it is. And then I made my drive to Conyers, and my boss, he yelled and screamed at me about drinking before I came to work. I said, I swear I didn't.
Yeah.
He's like, no, you're drunk. I said, I didn't say I wasn't drunk. You just accused me of drinking before work. This is from last night.
We have a way of justifying.
I'm
I always
telling
like
you.
that story because I lost my truck too at one point. And
Oh my
I just
gosh.
thought, I'm not going to go look for it. I don't need a truck. I'll just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, we just,
I'll
the
tell you
sense
that.
we make.
So that Big A Roads thing though is that was not my first encounter with Big A Road. That road's probably 3 miles long, if that, maybe 2. It's not very long. So there was another riffraff group I was hanging out with. Yeah, it might have been the same group. Anyway, so we got these hotel rooms and we were partying in them, and it was on Big A Road.
Yeah.
And I had my car. I was somewhere, and somebody grabbed me and picked me up and took me down to the hotel where everybody was partying. Once again, I mean, I just started drinking liquor like I was a fish and it was water.
Yeah.
And I got so freaking hammered that and I don't know why, but anyway, the police showed up and they said, "You can't be doing this. Everybody's got to leave right now." Blah 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 blah. And my friend that had taken me there said, "Come on, I'll take you back to your car." And I said, "No, no, no, I got it. I got to get out of here. I don't want to have nothing to do with these police." So I walked down on Big A Road, and I was stumbling and falling all over the place. I got so hurt that night. I was just so drunk. I really probably should have went to the hospital.
Yeah.
Anyway, I called my preacher brother-in-law, and I said, "Hey," it was late at night, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I said, "Can you come pick me up? I'm over on Big A Road." And he goes, "Yeah, I'll come get you." He says, "Where you at?" I said, "Big A Road." He said, "Where on Big A Road?" I don't know.
Somewhere.
And he says, never mind, I'll find you." Well, I had snuck onto this back porch, like little deck of a restaurant that was there, and apparently I passed out. I was just trying to hide from the cops.
Yeah.
Anyway, he found me hours later. He was not happy with me. He told me, "You need to start calling somebody else."
It's the last time he was going to bail you out of a situation.
Pretty much, yeah.
So
anyway, that was the big joke. Like, how do you get lost on Big A Road and you don't even know where you're at? I don't know. I don't know how that happens.
I think we managed to get lost a lot of places we probably shouldn't.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, how much longer did you stay in Georgia, or when did you move? I know you move out of Georgia, or move to California, back to California.
Yeah. So I had found a victim to marry me out in Georgia. And,
well said.
Yeah. Anyway, she liked conflict. Definitely liked conflict. So, my sneaking around and drinking, because, that became a problem pretty quickly. My sneaking around and drinking was not acceptable. She was trying to control it. I was trying to hide it. I lied and lied and lied and lied and lied. Anyway, one of our arguments finally broke out because I got caught in a big lie.
Yeah.
She punched me in the face and called the cops and, told them that, I was tearing up the house and beating her up. So
yeah,
that's when I left Georgia. The police came and they didn't do anything to me, but they said I got to leave. And I just decided if I'm leaving, I shouldn't come back here.
Yeah.
So I didn't. Anyway, that's when I went back to California. I had really long hair at that point, big old goatee. I definitely looked like trouble.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I came back to California. It was probably 2000, something like that. I started working for this guy that, God, he was crazy. He really was crazy. So I started working for this guy, owned a restaurant, and it was just a temporary job because I had worked in a couple bar and grills, and so I had a little experience with that. But I was waiting to get on for the water company. I had some old connections that were trying to get me in over there, and anyway, this guy had been sober a couple of years, and he was crazy as hell. He would tell me these stories about his drinking, and oh my gosh, they were so wild. I mean, I had some interesting stories, and they weren't the best stories, not compared to his anyway.
Oh.
His were like really out there. And he would tell me all the time, that I'm not saying that you're like that, Sean. He goes, I'm just telling you about me. I said, okay, I understand.
So he was sharing his experience with you and not.
He definitely was. And I'll tell you, I mean, after I got sober and, the fog started lifting and I started to understand a little bit about, the AA program, I realized that what he was doing that whole time, he was textbook 12-stepping me.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that's what he was doing at the time. Like I said before, I knew there were issues. I knew I had problems. I just didn't realize alcohol was one of them, or the
Mm.
one, really.
Right. So how long did he take you to your first meeting, or did
He
you?
did. He tricked me, and that's what I think I talked about that one night you're referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah, he tricked me into coming to an AA meeting because he was telling me all these crazy stories, and he says, I'm going to go be the speaker at this meeting, and he says you should come. He says you've heard some of my stories. He goes, you want to hear the whole thing? You should come to this. I said, oh no, I'm not an alcoholic. He goes, oh, I know you're not. He said, no, they have some meetings that are just for anybody. Just anybody can go to it. It doesn't matter who they are. And I said, oh, that's great. But I just don't think. He goes, no. Like people have family members and things that will come and just so they can hear, their story and stuff. And I go, oh, we sure that'd be all right? He goes, oh, yeah, it'd be fine. So I decided, he goes, there'll be other people there that are not alcoholics, just like you. I said, okay. So I went and I listened to his story. He was right. It was crazy.
Yeah.
People were coming up to me and they were like, hey, what's your name? Keep coming back. And I'm like, why? Oh, no, you don't understand. I don't belong here. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, got you. So yeah, I was definitely tricked. And
Yeah.
then he tricked me again, and he tricked me again. And I got enough knowledge from, listening to, I wouldn't say knowledge, actually. I identified enough with some of the stories that I heard
Yeah.
that there was something in my brain going, maybe.
Yeah.
And then, that next spree, that decision was made. What do I got to lose?
Yeah.
What if these guys are right?
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't it be?
So what do you think was your turning point, or your jumping off point?
That's the funny thing too. Like, I know that used to be a big conversation. I went to book studies religiously for years, and I really value the book studies.
Yeah.
Anyway, a discussion we used to have. What was it? What was it? This? Was it that? It's almost like you're comparing war stories. Whose was worse? Oh, this is what drove
Right.
me in. Oh, well, this is what drove me in. The funny thing about it is like, there was many things that had happened that should have drove me into making a decision to try something different, and it didn't.
Yeah.
The thing that actually did it, it was a stupid, just one more, that incomprehensible demoralization thing.
Mm.
I said I was going to do something.
Yeah.
You had my word, and it was not really that big of a deal, but I gave my word again and was unable to follow through with it because I was just going to do a little. And I
Yeah.
just overshot the mark to where I could not uphold my word.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was too, is that I think with the follow up with it, when I did not uphold my word, I didn't get chewed out for it. No one yelled at me. No one said they weren't going to talk to me anymore. They just said, I understand. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I knew there was nothing to understand about that.
Yeah.
I knew it. And that had happened 100 times. So, oops. Why that time and not the other 100 that had happened?
Yeah.
I have no idea why. Why then and not another time? Don't know. I guess, a man can't see till he can see, and he can't hear till he can hear, I suppose.
Yes. Wow. Yeah. So
the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
I'd met people that got a DUI and came to AA. I met another guy, this guy, Dumpster Mike, rest in peace.
Yeah.
He lived in a dumpster drinking wine. He's a wino for 20 years, living in a dumpster, and he got sober. Why? Why
Yeah.
20 years in a dumpster for that guy, but a DUI for the other? I don't know. There was another one where this guy was talking about, this letter from Bill W. I think it was in the Grapevine, and it was in the early days of AA. And this guy had wrote, and Bill, and he said, I've been trying to get sober. He said, I've gotten sober a couple of times, getting into meetings. He says, I'm doing the things. He said, I got a sponsor. I'm going to meetings. I took the steps, or I'm taking some of the steps. And he goes, and I don't end up staying sober. I get drunk. And he goes, I tried it again. I'm doing everything they tell me to, but then I get drunk. He says, what am I doing wrong? Because I really want to get this thing.
Yeah.
And Bill wrote back to him because I thought, oh, this is awesome. This is a great question. I really want to know the answer to this.
Yeah.
Like, why? I want to know the why of it. So Bill wrote back to him and he says, I don't know why God makes harder terms of this for some of us than others, but we need you to keep coming back. He didn't know the why either.
Yeah.
Not that why.
The old guy used to say he said, for some people it's a dent in a Mercedes, and for others it takes living under a bridge. And he said most of us are somewhere in between.
Well, I think it's an inside job, Joe. And just when that switch in your soul just clicks, change can happen. Not that it will, but it can.
Yeah.
Maybe. It's a theory.
I like it. I think it's I think you're right. I think it is an inside it's an inside job. It's a feeling of some sort that because I think we have consequences. I had legal consequences and financial consequences and family consequences, all of that stuff, and it wasn't enough, and
nope.
But it was just I remember that moment of I just don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank goodness there were people like you out there to take me under their wing to show me a way to live a different life,
Yeah. People like you too, Joe.
Thank you, Sean. Mm-hmm. So what was it like? Remember what it was like those first weeks and months and in early recovery?
Well, I try to remember as much as I can because that was one of the things they told me. I said, don't ever forget your last drink.
Yeah.
This feeling you're feeling right now? Don't forget it. You remember this. They said it was going to be helpful in the future.
Well, how's it been?
You know where they got that from? It has, actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been a while, but I've tried to remember that. So I remember it was aggravating. I couldn't sleep. I had a very hard time sleeping. They would tell me these things. It reminded me of that movie, The Karate Kid. Ralph Macchio, he's, trying to learn how to fight. And Mr. Miyagi says, I'll teach you. And he says, paint the car, wax the fence. And, the kid's getting pissed off. And he's like, what is this? I'm waxing the car and I'm painting the fence. You're supposed to be teaching me how to fight. And then he realizes when Miyagi shows him, like, this is what I've been teaching you. You just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
And it makes me think of how this program works, because I'm thinking like, admitted to myself, that I'm powerless over alcohol. My life's unmanageable. And, what does that have to do with anything? That's not my problem.
Yeah.
How is that going to fix things? And you just don't realize, and that you got to have, you got to have the same faith that, that Ralph Macchio had, when he was painting the fence and waxing the car, that this guy's really going to help me.
Yeah.
This is really going to help me. I just have to do what he says, even if it doesn't make any sense. Just keep doing it. Yeah. So it was like that. And, I couldn't sleep. And they're like, read the book. Just read the book when you can't sleep. It'll put you right to sleep. And I was like, oh, I don't want to read this ridiculous book, all these words, and I don't know what they mean. And I couldn't make hardly sense of any of it. But it would work, though. It would put me to sleep. And
yeah.
I was aggravated because I would work and, okay, I'm supposed to go to this meeting on that night and this meeting on that night. And I had this little group of these crazy guys that were, very active that would call me. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, well, I just worked a long work week and I just got home from work and I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. They're like, no, don't go to sleep. Change your clothes. We'll pick you up in an hour. Like, for what? We're going to go drive an hour and a half, go to a meeting. Like, we went last night. It's okay. We're going to go to another one. Or they would call me and say, hey, you've got a car, right? Well, yeah. Go pick up George. Take him over to here. I'll see you there. I expect you're going to be there. Okay. So I go pick that guy up and take him to the meeting. They're like, quit being so damn selfish, Sean. He needs a meeting. Go get him.
Yeah.
So I'd go pick the guy up, go over there. We'd go to the meeting and all that. And I'd call, my sponsor or, whoever called me up and made me do that the next day. And I say, hey, I didn't see you at the meeting. I said, well, I never said I was going. I just said you need to pick up George. Anyway, those things would aggravate me. But those guys saved my life. They kept me busy.
Yeah.
They kept me out of my head. Because, if I wasn't busy at work or busy at a meeting or busy being aggravated or busy trying to understand what that big book says to put me to sleep, my head was just going round and round in circles about all the stuff I'd screwed up, how bad it made me feel.
Yeah.
And, a lot of the things that made me drink. Just want to shut that off for a minute.
Yeah.
So it was rough.
Yeah. But you made it through.
Well, because they said, if you want what we have, do what we do. And I thought they meant the Cadillac and the girl and the jewelry. But that's not what they meant.
Yeah. No.
And then there was the day I figured it out, Joe. I figured it out that they didn't mean the Cadillac and the jewelry and the girl. I found out I don't even really care for the jewelry. I just wanted it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, it looked good. They're outside.
Amazing how our minds work. Yeah. Yeah.
No, I realized though after my Thursday night big book study, right down the street, I was making the loop to the Taco Bell drive-thru to get some dinner. I was sitting there waiting on my tacos, and it just came to me, because I was thinking, when am I going to get mine? I've been doing what they're doing. I don't have what they have, and it just came to me. Hey, dummy, you're not afraid to answer the phone. You're not looking in the rearview mirror anymore. You answer the door. You answer the phone. You're not running anymore. You can look at yourself. You got what they have. That is what they were offering. Something's changed. Keep it up. It's going to get better. Even better.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
It is pretty awesome.
You had a moment of clarity in the Taco Bell drive-thru.
That's right. To me, that sounds like a ridiculous story, but it's what happened.
Pretty awesome.
It's what happened.
I think it's pretty awesome.
Well, I wish it was something like,
the neat thing.
I was on the pier and the sunset was beautiful and the waves were crashing in, and I heard the voice from above go, "You have what they were offering." That sounds like so much better of a story, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, well, it's funny. It's like, we always think there's going to be this big aha,
right,
light burning bush, because we're but the beautiful thing about it is it can happen anywhere, and I think it's awesome where it happened. I think that gives me hope. That's like a anywhere, anytime. It don't have to be.
It doesn't have to be the special place. I know I've heard guys talk about that, like, oh, I can't go to that area. That's where I used to do all my drinking. That book tells me, and that was my experience. I got sober where I started getting drunk. I mean, I did some of my worst stuff where I got sober. The book tells me I can go anywhere that I need to, As long as I got a purpose for being there, I'll be okay.
Yeah. Yep. So how has your life changed since you've been sober?
Since the day I walked in until now, all kinds of changes, Joe.
What are some of the highlights?
The highlights. Well, so my son that I had right out of high school, and his mom took off with him. It's interesting because the timing, and you wonder, what's God's involvement really in all this, right? Or my higher power? What is really the involvement? And so that kid, she took off and ran off with him, and I never had interaction with him. I never crossed paths, nothing like that, until years later. I was sober maybe 6 months, and I was, I think I was trying to figure out how to write step 4. I had done that 1, 2, 3 shuffle, 1, 2, 3 stop. So I was at that place, but my sponsor was talking to me a lot about, like, I would complain about, I don't like that meeting. He says, why not? I said, they complain and talk about their problems a lot. I said, I got problems. I don't want to hear about problems. I want to hear how they solve them. And he goes, well, Sean, you need to keep going to that meeting because you know what your problem is? You're a taker. You always take. Why don't you go over there and be a giver? Because they need somebody to go to that meeting and be a giver. Why don't you try that? Maybe your life will get better. So I was starting to adopt that new way of thinking. It hasn't fully took yet, Joe. But
mine neither.
Anyway,
working progress, buddy. Progress.
That's right. Progress. So I was shopping one evening in a Walmart, and I was looking at the little DVD collection in the basket, and I was walking around, and I went face to face with this kid that was looking in the DVDs, and I just looked at him, and I knew immediately that was my son. I knew it, and I just kind of stood there frozen for a minute, and his mother turned the corner, and she saw me, and I just saw the fear in her eyes. And I just looked at her, and I just nodded, and I turned around and walked the other way. Because my instinct, my drinking Sean, wanted to go, you blankety blank, blah, 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 that's my kid, and this and that, and just go on, and what my rights were. But I thought about that, what the guy had been telling me, though. You've always been a taker. So my thought instead changed to, you have no right to screw up this kid's life because you have no idea what situation he's in, what he knows, what he doesn't. No right. Best thing you can do is just turn around and walk away. So I did. Well, she sent her boyfriend after me. He's like, hey, you. I was like, oh, no. I don't want to get into nothing. Look, I didn't say nothing. He said, no. She wants to know if you want to see the kid. I said, what? I mean, where did this come from? She had no idea.
Yeah.
She had no idea that I hadn't been drinking. And I said, well, yeah, I'd love to. Anyway, that started the ball rolling. And, a couple of years later, I had full custody of that kid. I had a great relationship develop with him. It was definitely not easy in the beginning. He hated me.
Yeah.
For several years. It was not easy at all. And, he was entitled to. And I know I talked to one of our other friends about that, and he says, how much do we have to, pay when we're making these amends, for things? Well, I asked that very same question one time, and I was told, some things we could just pay it up and we're done. Some things we got to pay a little bit more. And then there's other things where we pay and we pay and we pay. And I said, well, for how long exactly? As long as it takes. Could be forever. And he
Yeah.
was definitely one of those that I paid and paid and paid and paid. But anyway, Joe, you know the rest of that story, though. So he came to live
Yeah.
with me. We brought him up through high school, and he got to finish school and all that stuff. He lived with us, with me and my new wife, my new hostage. um,
She is not a
and
hostage. I am
I
saying
know
that.
she's not a hostage. She has a black belt in Al-Anon that has
She
saved my
does.
life more than once. I don't
Yeah.
like to admit it to her, but some of those little Al-Anon slogans kind of help me out. They pissed me off at first, but then they help me out.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, so that kid, so he lives 2 doors down from me now.
Yeah.
I mean, I never saw him. He hated me. And now he lives 2 doors down from me. And he moved there on purpose, Joe.
Hey, is it odd or is it God, Sean?
I don't know, but I'm going to stay out the way.
That's pretty amazing.
It is pretty amazing. I mean, you know what? There's some other things that, definitely, obviously, that have changed besides that. A lot of the promises in the book.
Yeah.
A lot of those, My favorite was, the one that says, the fear of economic insecurity will leave you.
Yeah.
And I thought it meant you won't be broke anymore. That will leave.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
ooh, I'm going to get some money. Took a little while to figure out.
Yeah.
It said the fear of economic insecurity will leave me.
Yeah.
Anyway, those promises have come true multiple times, which I used to kind of chuckle at. I'm like, yeah, okay, sure, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I love some of the stuff in the book too, where it talks about, I've never had it so good and things like that. And I remember, perspective things like, I remember I bitched and moaned one time, and I was driving in a school zone. I wasn't even taking a kid to school. It just happened to be on my route, and everybody was dropping their kids off to school. And anyway, there's a policeman sitting out there, and I'm driving through, and a couple cars zoom by, and the policeman pulls me over. And he writes me up a ticket for speeding. I said, I wasn't speeding. And he goes, yes, you were. And he writes me this ticket for speeding. I hadn't gotten a ticket in years. And I was pissed. So I called my sponsor, and I'm just complaining and just moaning and groaning about this. And he says, I don't understand what the problem is. He said, you have the money to pay the ticket? I said, well, yeah. He goes, well, pay the ticket. What are we talking about? And I told him, I said, well, the problem is I wasn't speeding. He says, oh, okay. So you want justice? I said, yeah, I want justice. Of course. And he goes, okay, so, you want to make things right for everything that's ever happened kind of thing. I said, what? Well, no. He said, well, you can't have it both ways. Which way do you want it? He says, haven't you sped in a car before? I said, well, of course I have. There just wasn't anybody around to catch me. But I wasn't speeding then. He said, well, you deserved the ticket. It just wasn't for that time. Pay the ticket. Be grateful. You have the money to pay it. So that in itself, I mean, that's a stupid thing. It's a ticket. It means nothing really. But, when you apply that to so many other things in your life, for me, it definitely helps. It helps me get through, without my head turning on and spinning out of control and being cut off from the sunlight of the spirit and being in that place where a drink is the only answer.
And it really does, I think, put stuff in perspective too. I think, man, how grateful am I that I didn't get everything that I deserved.
Yes, exactly.
I certainly wouldn't be sitting here, having this moment with you. That's for sure. So,
no.
So what advice would you give to someone, who is struggling?
That's tough. I don't know. I would say, the book says that it takes the desperation of a dying man to have, the 12 steps work for you.
Yeah.
I think it does. I have seen many people in which the book talks about, like, this is something we are sure you will not want to miss watching these people do this. And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
But I've also seen people that, have said, have done the half measures. And the book tells us, the half measures availed us nothing.
Yeah.
Not half. It's nothing. So I don't know about all alcoholics, but I know me. I'm hard-headed. I'm strong-willed. I'm stubborn as hell. Don't tell me what to do. As my friend says, don't tell me what to do, but oh my gosh, what do I do?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the desperation of the dying man, and then listen to Mr. Miyagi. Find your
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi and listen to him.
Yeah.
No matter what. I don't think you hear it enough. I don't hear it enough lately anyway. Actually, I think they just talked about it the other night, but I hadn't heard it in a while. Try this thing out.
Yeah.
Because you know what? If you have the desperation of a dying man, this is the last house on the block.
Yeah.
Because if it's like that for you, then give it a shot. Give it that time. And if
Yeah.
it doesn't work out, you've got nothing to lose.
No.
We will refund the misery. You can go right back to it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that place, I say go get it on and get there. Try not to die on the way.
Yeah.
That's the bad part. Some people got to die.
I know.
You look at in the beginning of the book, it gives you all the statistics. These are the people that make it. These people show improvement. These people don't make it at all. These people show a little less improvement.
Right.
So I often used to wonder about that, Joe. A couple things. One, how come I got to make it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea why my number got picked.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did something special, if I did something better. I have no idea. The other thing I used to wonder about too, what exactly is it? Is it my higher power? Is it working the steps better? Is it going to more meetings? Is it listening to my sponsor? Is it service work? What exactly is it that took away that obsession? Because Joe, I notice it. I
Yeah.
notice that's a big difference from when I came here and to now.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even drinking is just not it's just not a thing that I obsess over. My mental obsession has been gone for a long time. And what removed that? I don't know. Was it this? Was it that? Was it this? I don't know which one it was. And I used to wonder about that and question it until one day I finally figured out it doesn't matter. What difference does it make?
Yeah.
I'm just supposed to do all these things, and this is what I get. And you know what? The prize is priceless.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep on doing it.
Yeah. It works.
And I don't care why it works. I just know that it does.
Wow. Yes. Well, it certainly worked for you and for me, and I'm really grateful you took the time to share your story. But I can't let you go without my rapid fire question, Sean. I need to have a theme song. All right.
Are they supposed to be rapid fire responses?
Are you ready,
too?
sir? Yeah, you got a rapid fire response. Now you can think about. You have 3 seconds to think about each answer. I'm only kidding. Whatever it takes. All right. So, what is your favorite recovery slogan?
We get to.
What is your least favorite recovery slogan?
Oh boy. I don't know. I do know, but I can't think of it.
It's okay. We can always come back.
Okay.
What do you think is your sobriety superpower?
My sobriety superpower?
Mhm.
I don't. What do you mean?
Like, what's your superpower in sobriety?
My superpower in sobriety? Not really sure.
I know
I
what
know
it
in
is.
service. You do?
Yep.
You know what yours is?
I know what yours is,
Oh, well, tell
at
it to
least
me.
from an outsider's perspective.
Okay.
Your willingness to be of service to people.
I am willing to be of service to people. Yeah, Bill W. had that thing at his last talk, at the last World Convention. And have you ever been to one of those, Joe? You never been?
What
World
convention?
The World Convention?
No, Katie and I have
We
been
gotta
talking
go.
about going.
We got to go, Joe.
I would like to do that.
So my sponsor told me, he said, Sean, if you stay sober, he said, when the World Convention comes around again, we'll go. And that's the one I went to. And it was amazing, Joe. And they talked about Bill W.'s thing that he said in his last talk. And he said,
Yeah.
he said, I am responsible. He said, anytime the hand of AA reaches out, that I got to be there for it.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, I've extended that because I don't know that Bill really meant that, because at first I thought we only help AAs.
Right.
I thought that's what they meant. But I don't think that's what they mean. I think they mean we need to help people.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we need to definitely help drunks because, we're the ones that are armed and equipped to give them help.
Yeah.
And lead them in the right direction out of the cave.
Yeah. Well said. Nice try to slow down the rapid fire questions, Sean.
I know. I
We're
realized
going
I was
back
doing
to
that to you. I'm sorry. I'm messing up your mojo. Fire away, Joe. Fire away.
If you could say one thing to your former self, what would it be?
Pre-sobriety?
Hmm.
Don't worry, dummy. Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. What song do you play to lift your spirits when you need a boost?
I don't know that I really have anything in particular, but Aerosmith's got a great recovery song that I love.
All right.
It goes something like, kept the right ones out, let the wrong ones in.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's the song.
I like it. If you could grant yourself one wish to help with your recovery, what would it be?
One wish?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll tell you what would be really helpful is to be able to abolish fear and selfishness from within me. I mean, abolish it.
Yeah, that would be pretty good for me as well. What for the record, what step do you love the most?
So many of them are really, really, really good. There are definitely great things in all of them. I guess it would probably need to be a toss up between the first and the sixth.
Okay. What step do you love the least?
Now? Okay, because everything's always changing.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably 10.
Okay.
To be real honest.
Yeah. That's some honesty. What is your favorite curse word?
I'd say I have to like an F-bomb.
What me's talking about. All right. And if heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
What I like him to say?
Yeah.
Welcome. We've been expecting you. Come on in.
I love it. Well, Sean, I really appreciate you, and thank you for sharing your story. I know people are going to get a lot out of it. You are the man.
You the man, Joe.
So thank you guys for listening to the Cup of Joe show. I have to tell you, a new episode is released every Thursday at noon. You can listen to the show in your favorite podcast apps, Amazon Audio, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and others. Just search for The Cup of Joe Show. Don't forget the. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you for joining us today. And Sean, thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks, Joe.
It's just a laid-back vibe, baby.
We hope you enjoyed today's experience, strength, and hope. We are so grateful you decided to join us. Please share this episode with someone who might need it. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Remember, no matter where you are in your recovery journey, you are not alone. Reach up and reach out to someone. Please do not suffer in silence. Until next time, let's take it 1 minute, 1 hour, and 1 day at a time. Thanks for listening to the Cup of Joe Show.